happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
we are instructed by Hamas.
A British law firm is trying to get Hamas taken off the list of banned terror groups. You know, this Hamas. Yeah, but there's loads more on the agenda tonight, a little bit like this.
So Tom Crowther, KC, chair of the Telford inquiry, has agreed to work with the government to develop a new framework for victim-centred, locally led inquiries.
Couple of things to say here. Firstly, more people are in prison for the Rotherham summer disorder than have been locked up for actually being a member of a Pakistani rape gang. On top of that, before we go to the next issue here as well, it's some big breaking news about the man known as Madha Passa, who arrived in the UK last year and allegedly made threats to kill Nigel Farage. Also, Aston Villa fans got stuck into the French in Paris, plus China hits back at Trump tariffs by trying to mock American workers. On my panel tonight is the director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. And please, can you tell me what happens next here?
Short steps. The pallbearers carried Benjamin Aviles to his final resting spot.
Get ready, Britain, here we go. Big breaking news on a man who allegedly threatened to kill Nigel Farage. Next.
Very good evening. The top story from the newsroom tonight. Markets are soaring after Donald Trump hit pause on a wave of global tariffs, sending Wall Street into rally mode. The Nasdaq surged 9% and the S&P 500 jumped 8% after the president announced a 90-day pause on higher tariffs for countries that haven't retaliated against the US. But the relief comes with a warning shot. Trump has hiked tariffs on Chinese goods yet again, this time to 125%, accusing Beijing of showing a lack of respect to the world's markets. The so-called reciprocal tariff for other nations will now sit at 10% during the pause, with more than 75 countries said to be in talks with US officials. Trump says the pause is a reward for countries that have held back on retaliation, but for China, the tariff war is far from over. Well, also breaking tonight, Downing Street has said that the UK will coolly and calmly continue trade talks after Donald Trump made that announcement on those tariff pauses. Number 10 saying that the trade war is in nobody's interest and stressed the UK doesn't want any tariffs at all. Officials also adding that negotiations will continue in British interests, with jobs and livelihoods the priority. In other news tonight, King Charles and Queen Camilla have met Pope Francis at the Vatican, where he wished them a happy 20th wedding anniversary during a private audience. The meeting, confirmed just hours earlier, took place at the Pope's residence as he continues to recover from illness. In a statement, the King and the Queen said they were delighted that the Pope was well enough to host them and to share their personal well wishes. Earlier, King Charles also made history by becoming the first British monarch to address both Italian houses in Parliament, warning that peace is never to be taken for granted. And the couple will round off their anniversary today with a state banquet in Rome, following a warm welcome across the city. And Prince Harry has returned to the Court of Appeal today for the second day, as his legal team argued his life is at stake under the UK's current approach to his police protection. The Duke of Sussex is challenging the decision to downgrade his security after stepping back from royal duties in 2020. He claims he's been subjected to manifestly inferior treatment. Government lawyers, though, say the move was fair and based on Prince Harry's unique circumstances, insisting the flexible approach taken was appropriate for a non-working royal living overseas. Judges are expected to deliver their ruling in writing at a later date. A £30 million plan to help reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport has won government backing today in a major boost for Yorkshire's economy. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner says the project will get opportunities for jobs and growth off the ground, with up to 5,000 roles supported and a £5 billion boost to the economy by 2050. The airport, which closed in 2022, is set to be revived under a new venture called Fly Doncaster. And the UK is in for a blast of sunshine, with temperatures set to hit 24 degrees in London and the South East on Friday, making it possibly the hottest day of the year so far. But with the heat comes a serious warning. Fire crews say the risk of wildfires is extreme after weeks of dry weather and barely any rain. Blazes have already broken out across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with crews there responding to dozens of wildfire calls overnight. The London Fire Brigade, meanwhile, is urging people to ditch the barbecues, bin the rubbish and stub out cigarettes properly, especially in parks and open spaces. That's the news on GB News. Plenty more still to come right here. Don't go anywhere.
Good evening. I start with some breaking news tonight. A man is set to appear in court charged with threatening to kill the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage. 26-year-old Fayaz Khan, also known as Madha Passa, who is an Afghan national, appeared in numerous online videos last year, including one in which he appeared to threaten Mr Farage. The police announced his detention in October and he is due to appear in court on Friday. A Metropolitan Police spokesperson said tonight a man has been charged in relation to threats made against an MP. Fayaz Khan, of no fixed address, was charged on Tuesday the 8th of April via postal charge requisition with threats to kill and sending a menacing communication. He is due at Westminster Magistrates Court on Friday, the 11th of April. The charge follows an arrest made on Friday the 1st of November in relation to a report of threatening communications and threats to kill towards an MP linked to a video posted on social media. The man was bailed pending further inquiries and subsequently charged as above. Just to reiterate there, it's a breaking news story that we can reveal exclusively for you tonight, which is that a man is set to appear in court charged with threatening to kill Nigel Farage. That man is 26-year-old Fayaz Khan, also known as Madha Passa, who is an Afghan national. That's all we can say about that for the moment, for obvious reasons. So let's crack on with the show as planned. And, well, there's a series of big revelations that I'm about to give to you now. Labour has prioritised Muslim votes over the lives of the Pakistani rape gang victims. Labour has chosen to save its own councillors over getting justice for Pakistani rape gang victims. Those aren't just my views. They're the views of the former chairman of the Equality and Human Rights Commission, Trevor Phillips.
I think what the government is doing on that question is utterly shameful. Really? Utterly shameful. And it is so obviously political. It's so obvious that they're not doing this because of the demographic of the people involved. As Katie Lamb, the Tory MP, said yesterday, largely Pakistani Muslim in background, and also in Labour-held seats and councils.
They're also the views of Tory MP Esther McVeigh. Labour refused a national grooming gang inquiry, but they promised to have 5 local inquiries.
So Tom Crowther, KC, chair of the Telford inquiry, has agreed to work with the government to develop a new framework for victim-centred, locally led inquiries.
Then, as you all know, Jess Phillips pulled the rug on that at the last minute before MPs went off on their Easter holidays.
We'll set out the process through which local authorities can access the £5 million national fund to support locally led work on grooming gangs. Following feedback from local authorities, the fund will adopt a flexible approach to support both full independent local inquiries and more bespoke work.
Well, here's one revelation for you. More people are now in prison for disorder in Rotherham this summer than were ever prosecuted for raping and abusing young girls as part of Pakistani rape gangs in the same town. How mental is that? Now, I don't know how Jess Phillips lived with herself over this, to be honest with you. She made a big song and dance over female victims of violence, reading their names out in Parliament.
Sabita Thanwani, Yasmin Begum, Shatira Bibi, Sherry Bruce, Helen Laurie.
She practically cried into Beth Rigby's bosom on Sky News after Elon Musk said that she should be locked up for not doing enough on the Pakistani rape gangs.
Is this worth it? And I'm saying it to my husband. I'm saying, is it, like, but it's just a process you have to go through each and every time.
Does seem like it's all about her there a bit, doesn't it? But hundreds of thousands of predominantly British working-class white girls who were passed around like pieces of meat by predominantly Pakistani men won't get justice now. How do you think they'll feel about some of Jess Phillips's antics in Parliament? I believe we can show you some theatrics, really, some quite performative outrage, performative upset, I think. Look at her there, kind of... Yeah, getting a bit... Look, how would you describe that? I don't know. Quite snarling in some ways, I suppose you could say. Yeah, I think it's quite strange behaviour, that, for someone who has basically just stood up and pulled the rug on the grooming gang inquiries. We all know which side Labour's bread is buttered. It seems as though the Muslim vote means more to them than the lives of young working-class white girls. But I have another theory. I think it might be about compensation. One Rotherham survivor was awarded £425,000 in compensation after she sued her rapist. So if we take that as a benchmark for compensation and we say that there are 100,000 victims, which, given the fact that the abuse has been taking place in more than 50,000 cities across the country for decades, I don't think that's an unreasonable number there to assume that there's about 100,000 victims and survivors. The compensation would be around £42.5 billion. But this leads me on to tonight's big GB News exclusive. The taxpayer-funded legal aid paid to the legal representatives acting for a single Rotherham grooming gang has topped £600,000, and the costs are set to soar further. Ringleader Mohammed Imran Ali Akhtar was handed a whopping £143,500 to fund his defence at trial between 2017 and 2019. These are new figures released in a GB News Freedom of Information request. He was caged for 23 years in 2018 for a string of previous sex offences against young girls. But that total that I outlined there does not include costs for a separate trial last year in which he was handed a further 12-year stretch for raping a vulnerable 13-year-old girl he had plied with drugs and alcohol. His sentence is set to run concurrently. Nabil Khurshid was jailed for 19 years for rape and indecent assault. He got £65,000 for his legal aid help between 2016 and 2018. Ikhlaq Yusuf was found guilty of 2 rapes and indecent assaults and was caged for 20 years. He received £60,147 to pay his legal fees between 2016 and 2020, including £516 for an appeals advocate. Tanweer Ali was found guilty of 2 rapes, 2 indecent assaults and 1 charge of false imprisonment. Jailed for 14 years, got just shy of £100,000 from you, the taxpayer, between 2017 and 2019 to help pay for his solicitors and barristers. Reports at the time stated that Ali appeared to fall asleep as victim impact statements were read at his sentencing. So you could argue there that you paid for his legal representation so he could take a nap whilst his victims spoke in court. Salah Ahmed El Hakam, 45, was jailed for 15 years for rape. His legal team received just shy of £79,000. Asif Ali was found guilty of 2 counts of indecent assault and sentenced to 10 years. He got just over £73,500 in legal aid funding. A 7th defendant who cannot be named for legal reasons was found guilty of 2 rapes, and he received a whopping £90,849, including £1,170, again, for an appeals advert. So the total legal aid bill for the 7 sex beasts adds up to an astonishing £611,000. You're paying for that. You also pay the wages of Jess Phillips, Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer as well. And has there ever been a bigger, more barefaced betrayal of the Pakistani rape gang victims than what Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party has just served up? Let's get the thoughts from our panel this evening. Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We've got businessman and activist Adam Brooks and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. So, look, quite a few different things to get stuck into there. I'll come to you, Mark, on the first aspect of it. I mean, the betrayal, really, by Labour. Why do you think it is? Is it, as Trevor Phillips says, which is that it's to appease the Muslim vote and it's to make sure that Labour councillors or whoever else will never face accountability? Would you sit on that camp?
Very interesting for Trevor Phillips to say that. Not usually somebody who goes on the warpath against Labour, of course. I think there's a mixture of things here. There's 1 million cans of worms that will be opened if there is a proper national inquiry, or even a privately led national inquiry, which Rupert Lowe's trying to pull together. So it may be the Muslim vote, but it will also be endless numbers of people in the political process, probably in the social services, in the police force, in the state bureaucracy, who turned a blind eye. And the minute you start opening one can of worms, you'll open all of them. So partly the Labour vote, but partly there are a huge number of public sector workers who I think will face jail.
I know, if you just have a look at Jess Phillips' seat, you have a look, in fact, I was around that area yesterday, and you've got that cluster of MPs there in Birmingham. You've got the Justice Minister, Shabana Mahmood, you've got Jess Phillips' seat, you've got Tahir Ali's seat, you've got quite a few of them, Liam Byrne. Huge local Muslim population, many of whom are already saying that they're not going to vote Labour over the Gaza issue. You also look at the likes of Wes Streeting, Health Minister, only won his seat by something like 500 votes last time around as a result of a independent candidate, pro-Palestine candidate called Diane Mohammed, standing against him. I wonder whether or not they've basically said here, we will not have a grooming gangs inquiry because we don't want to upset the Muslim vote, because we'd lose our seats.
There is that as well. But also, I believe, and I did a video yesterday on X, that Labour are involved in this scandal up to their necks. As you say, it's from councillors to wherever in that party. People covered it up. There were people involved, apparently. This could finish the Labour Party. If there was a proper national inquiry and, you know, dozens of councillors were prosecuted and found guilty, this could end Labour as a political force. Or
there was a reckoning of things like, you know, email chains, if they've not already been shredded, obviously. Yep. Email chains, interactions, what people knew. It's not just about the actual direct perpetrators here, whoever they may or may not be. It's about the complicity in that and any potential subsequent cover-up. And I suppose, Nina, from an outsider looking into it, it would look as though the Labour Party is very scared about what that might unearth, and they've run away from it.
I don't know that they have run away from it. There was much discussion earlier in the year about should there be an inquiry. And I think the general consensus was that local-led inquiries were more resourceful and got better results because local people knew and could deal with it. They've said they're putting $5 million towards it, and they've said that they'll be able to choose how that money is spent. Now, they're not going to spend the money on wider pavements. They're spending the money on this problem. So there's that something.
Have to volunteer themselves to be investigated, and that is going to be an issue for a lot of those areas, because why would you want to do that?
I think they will volunteer because why not? And let's face it.
Because they might.
No. Because I think it's in everybody's interest that as you say, you pick the rock up and look at the worms below. But the thing is, you say that it's going to finish the Labour Party. Might I point out that the original exposure was done by the Times in 2011.
Yes.
And it caused the first inquiry, which there was the 10-year anniversary was last year, and all of those cases could have been brought were under the Conservative government. It's nothing to do with Labour in that case.
To the other aspect of what I mentioned earlier tonight, which is this GBNews exclusive based on a Freedom of Information request, which shows that more than £600,000 of your money, taxpayers' money, has been given to just one rape gang in Rotherham. Just one. And you think the victims themselves are now quite possibly never going to get justice. You know, Labour has pulled the rug on it seems, at the very last moment. And yet, if you are a perpetrator of one of these vile gangs, you can get, in some cases, more than £100,000 in legal aid.
Taxpayer cash. I mean, it looks on the face of it to be a complete disgrace, doesn't it, Patrick? I mean, people must be furious seeing those numbers. There is a problem there, right, that under our justice system, quite rightly, we ensure that everybody has legal representation. I mean, is the alternative to say if you're charged with a grim crime, you don't get a lawyer? I think the scale of the numbers that GBNews has unearthed there tells us something that I've often said about our legal system. It is too slow and it's too expensive. These sort of cases should not take this long and shouldn't cost this much. It's absolutely ludicrous. Justice delayed is justice denied. And we now have a justice system, a court system, that is ludicrous. It takes years for things to get done, and lawyers are making an absolute fortune out of it. It's got to be quicker and cheaper.
Yeah, taxpayers don't consent to that, and they also, I dare say, do not consent to the wages of those politicians that have ultimately made a decision not to have this inquiry.
No, look, one thing I will say is because of GB News and the subsequent attention that's come from the last 6 months, people in this country now know that this is one of the biggest scandals that have ever hit this country. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of young white working class girls targeted by foreign men and Pakistani rape gangs. And the fact that our taxpayers' money is going to defend these criminals, I believe that once found guilty, we should have clawed back some of that money from their assets, from their houses, from their cars, whatever we can. Should have been.
And the other thing to compare it to, of course, is the paltry $5 million on the table for a local inquiry. $5 million.
That's
the biggest scandal in our nation.
That's true. $5 million for that, 600 grand just for one of these grooming gangs.
I was going to say, you know, the thing is, you have to remember the victims in all of this, and whatever government's been in power, whatever council has been, you know, corrupt. These people, these girls have actually suffered, and it's completely wrong.
It is.
But they've been let down not just by the Labour government. They've been let down by every government.
Every council was Labour. Let's just tell them.
All right. Look, I just think this time they came as close as they possibly could. It was the more difficult decision for Labour to pull this at the last minute than it would have been to just go ahead with it. And you have to ask yourselves why they did that. The Legal Aid Agency said legal aid is not paid directly to the individual and recipient of legal aid. It is paid to legal representatives to ensure access to justice and, in criminal cases, to ensure a fair trial. We went to the Home Office as well. They said it's wholly wrong to claim the government is cancelling local child sex abuse inquiries. We will pursue justice for victims without fear or favour, and claims that we would not do so to avoid offering any group... to avoid offending any group are false. This government is taking decisive action to finally tackle grooming gangs, strengthening the Child Sexual Exploitation Police Task Force, giving victims more powers to have their cases reviewed and making it a criminal offence to cover up any reports of child sexual abuse. We have also commissioned a rapid national audit led by Baroness Casey to uncover the true scale of grooming gangs in the UK today, including looking at ethnicity. And we are providing £5 million to help support local inquiries so we can deliver the meaningful change that victims deserve. Well, OK, it was a meaty start to this hour. I have got an absolute whopper of a story coming your way next. After time, of course, for the Great British Giveaway, and it's the biggest prize that we've ever given away. How would you like a ginormous, great big £67,000 new motorhome? Well, I certainly would, and a bit of cash as well. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
We're making the Great British Giveaway a getaway with a chance to win our biggest prize to date. You could be the proud owner of this Elneg Baron 560 motorhome, worth over £67,000. Supplied brand new from Marquis Leisure, you could be exploring Great Britain and beyond this summer and making memories to last a lifetime. This motorhome comfortably sleeps 4, has its own kitchen and bathroom spaces, and comes complete with all of the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle of this calibre. And that's not all, as we'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash so you can get started on your next adventure as soon as possible. For a chance to win a motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, coming up, the very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, regret to tell you this, but some breaking news on the front of the Daily Telegraph. One police force has blocked white recruits. So I'm just going to bounce my head off the desk. But what's going on here? But first, we've got this.
We are instructed by Hamas.
A British law firm is representing Hamas and trying to get them taken off the list of banned terror groups. Should they be struck off? And am I the only one thinking, how did Hamas know to contact that law firm? Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The great thing is that this is going to be the perfect summer to stay in the UK. A couple of reasons for that. The first one is, well, yeah, you can't do much about the weather, but what you can do is save an absolute fortune. I've been looking at, for instance, all the tourist attractions around Europe. The prices are going through the roof. You want to go and see some beautiful pictures in the Prado in Madrid, that's going to cost you over 30 quid. And yet, here in the UK, all our big cultural attractions are free. And furthermore, you will be doing the country a favour, because the best thing you can possibly do is spend money here, create jobs, pay taxes and make things just a little bit better than they are now.
So, Joe, does that convince you to take a staycation this year?
Well, my staycation will be here in Tenerife, for sure. I want the guaranteed sunshine, and I want the cleaner air. And the cheap places to eat. I mean, Simon was talking about the costs, but in Tenerife, you go into the mountains and the hillside areas, you can still get a 3-course meal for under €20, very good quality. There's arguments, obviously, for both sides, but I think for most people, it's just that guaranteed dose of sunshine that people are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to get away from that, Simon, isn't it? That we do want the weather.
Yeah, but we just got to recalibrate, honestly. And tell you what, there's going to be an awful lot of people who are going to be travelling to Tenerife, other places, particularly around the Mediterranean, this coming Easter, because they've literally been scorched over the past couple of years in July and in particular August. Very, very high temperatures. Brits have had enough of too much sunshine.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. And yes, the breaking news on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, which I'll be coming to shortly, is that West Yorkshire Police have banned white recruits in a bid to increase diversity. So in the next break, I'll be bouncing my head off this desk. But first, a London-based law firm are fighting for Hamas to be removed from the banned list of terrorist organisations under the UK counter-terrorism powers.
We are instructed by Hamas. We are today at the Home Office and we are going to hand in an application under Section 4 of the Terrorism Act to have them removed from the list of proscribed organisations.
It's not April Fools, it's lawyers from Riverway Law who have been instructed by Hamas. I am keen to know how Hamas knew to contact that particular law firm, by the way, but anyway. So they've submitted an application to Home Secretary Yvette Cooper today requesting that Hamas be removed from a list of proscribed terror groups. That's the same group that launched the horrific 7th of October massacre that claimed the lives of around 1,200 Jewish people, with hundreds taken hostage. Hamas was officially declared a terrorist organisation by the UK government back in 2021 and have, as you've been seeing on your screens, if you're watching us on TV now, been seen parading not just hostages but also the coffins of murdered babies as well. I'm joined now by barrister and international lawyer Natasha Hausdorff. Natasha, thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. Before we start, I promise you that unlike some of my counterparts in the British media, I will not be throwing you off air for daring to speak your mind. But what do you make of this very concerning stuff that we have lawyers in Britain, a law firm in Britain, that appears happy to represent a terrorist organisation and get them taken off that terror list?
I think it's the content of this application that should be of serious concern to all those who care about legal processes, international law included. The grounds that have been advanced for what is, frankly, a ridiculous, laughable application, it would be funny if it was not quite so serious, are upending many of the legal principles and the very notion of the rule of law that we have for so long prized in this country. I mean, ground one of their application raises that the prescription is allegedly contrary to international law. And if you can believe it, within that, these lawyers are concerned with the obligation to prevent genocide and not to be complicit in it. Now, this is really the rewriting both of the historical narrative but also of what has actually occurred on the 7th of October, those acts of genocide committed proudly by Hamas and promised over and over again, is being inverted. This is the allegation then of genocide that has been levied instead against victims. And this is a key plank of this ridiculous application which has been advanced, which threatens to subvert the very framework of the prescription of terrorist organisations in this country.
There is a fine line, is there not, with what's going on here? And I want to try to tread that line quite carefully. So Riverway Law described themselves as a niche immigration and nationality law firm. I would say that in light of what they've just done, they are, as it turns out, incredibly niche, actually. But they're a niche immigration law firm. They didn't have to represent Hamas, did they? They didn't have to do this. So they have made a conscious decision to do it, have they?
Well, yes, there is, of course, a cab rank rule, which, barristers such as myself are subject to, and some of us hold that extremely highly and will accept instructions that come our way that are appropriate to our level of expertise and experience. But that rule, I'm afraid, is being increasingly subverted by this new wave of activist lawyers, many of whom ally themselves with these extremist groups, these protest groups. It's not clear to me, these lawyers certainly haven't been on my radar before. But again, I'd say it's the quality of the analysis, the reasoning that is being advanced, which is perhaps the most telling. And here, there is blatant support for Hamas articulated in the application itself. And not only that, a characterization of Hamas activities as legitimate armed resistance. And believe it or not, they are quoting Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur, as justification of that. And I think if you step back for a moment, one really begins to get a sense of how this weaponization of international law, the inversion of these concepts against Israel, is gathering speed and is going to be used not just against Israel, but against Western civilization as a whole.
Well, it's against all of us. It's against all of us. I mean, everything that Hamas stands for is obviously primarily focused at Israel, and I would argue just Jews as a whole, of course. But it is, as you said there, the Western civilization and Western culture. Should these lawyers be struck off?
That's not a matter for me to consider, I'm afraid, and I wouldn't really want to get into that. I think it is important that everyone has representation and that credible cases are put forward. But there are, of course, very significant obligations, especially on barristers, but also on solicitors, not to put forward arguments that are lacking in credibility or to knowingly mislead. And again, looking at the content of this application, I think there are legitimate concerns there. Also, as regards the UK's responsibilities, not just to its own citizens, and indeed the threat that Hamas as an Iranian terror proxy, very much like Hezbollah, and there have been a number of Hezbollah plots foiled in the United Kingdom, I should note, with the help of the Israeli intelligence services. So the threat to British nationals at home and abroad is significant, but also the UK's obligations to fighting terrorism more broadly factor into the Home Secretary's discretion. They factored into the decision to prescribe Hamas in the first place. And I don't anticipate that this application will be given...
Well, yeah, we'll be given much credence. Sorry to cut you off. We're very pressed for time, but that makes it all the more surprising as to why these people rocked up on video and decided to come out and say, oh, hey, we're the guys representing Hamas. But anyway, there we go. Thank you very, very much, Tasha. Tremendous to have you on. I do hope to talk to you again very, very soon. It's Tasha Hausdorff there, who's a barrister and international lawyer. I will just quickly say again, I've looked at the address of where this Riverway law is. You can see the pictures of their company on their website. You can see where it is. And it appears as though they essentially have a room or maybe a floor in a kind of backstreet legal firm. If you were Hamas and their leadership, why would you decide to call that, quotes-unquote, backstreet law firm? I think there's something very strange going on there. But a spokesperson at Riverway Law said, we are instructed by Hamas to make today's application. The apartheid state of Israel is in the process of collapsing and Zionism is in a terminal crisis. This raises profound questions about what will replace it. History seems to tell us that it will be necessary for the British and other governments to speak to people and organisations who win elections, even and especially if one disagrees with some of their values and actions. The application has now been submitted to the British Secretary of State, who was invited to take an important and courageous, albeit difficult, step. Towards peace by de-prescribing Hamas. Right, well, there you go. Coming up, very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and including this absolutely insane story. One police force has blocked white recruits. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heavy showers and thunderstorms impacting Portugal and southwestern parts of Spain, but elsewhere across Europe we are going to see improving temperatures through the week. Initially some heavy showers affecting Tenerife and Madeira, eventually moving into parts of Portugal and Spain, but as we head our way further east, largely settled, lots of sunny spells and improving temperatures too, starting off in the mid-teens but increasing through the course of the week. And there'll be plenty of sunshine as we head into next week, the odd shower still affecting Tenerife, and that's where we'll see the best of the temperatures too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Front pages time now, the Daily Mail. Trump blinks but doubles down on China. That's what they go for in the tariff war. Daily Express, Kemi, PM must make more of our Brexit freedoms. The Tory leader's warning as Donald Trump pauses higher tariffs on all but China. The Guardian, Trump pauses global trade war but hits China with 125% tariffs. So there's a similar theme here on all of the front pages. The Telegraph have got Trump blinks first in trade war. Their picture story is The Secrets of a Happy Marriage by the Queen, Queen Camilla and King Charles there. But this is the story that I am most interested in. Police put block on white recruits to boost diversity. One of the UK's biggest police forces has temporarily blocked applications from white British candidates in an attempt to boost diversity. It's West Yorkshire Police, and they are preventing white British candidates from applying for jobs. If you replace the word white with any other colour there, it would be racism, wouldn't it?
This is racism. Even if you don't replace, this is racism, and it should be banned. The aim of the police force is not to boost diversity, it is to combat crime. Now, I mean, I think when you're looking at recruiting a police force, if a candidate can say, I'm particularly attuned to, I don't know, the local Jamaican community or the local... That would be a potential string to your bow in being a good copper in that area, but that should be considered on the merits. It is not... I think we need in Britain to bring in a meritocracy law that ensures that all jobs are recruited basically on merit alone, and all of this needs to end.
I just want to give a bit more detail on this. A report earlier this year suggested that West Yorkshire Police spends more money on diversity, equality and inclusion than any other police force. Apparently, it employs 19 diversity, equality and inclusion staff at a cost of more than £1 million a year. Adam, your views on this?
Look, we've seen recently we've got anti-white racism in our justice system with the sentencing guidelines. We've now got anti-white racism in recruitment for the police. We're an 83% white country. What is going on? Why are we... I mean, as a middle-aged white man, I feel demonised in my own country at the moment. What sort of future has my 15-year-old son got in this country? Where are we going? How is this allowed? And as you said, you replace the word white there with any other demographic, it's racism, and you'd end up in court.
One whistleblower claimed that black and Far East Asian candidates were considered particularly underrepresented and given a, quote, gold ranking for people that they wanted to recruit. Nina, we have you alluded to it earlier, we do have a sex crime epidemic in Britain. We have a violent crime epidemic. Drugs are, as far as I can tell, basically legal now. They're not actually, don't go out and do them. But you get my point. The grooming gangs, I mean, West Yorkshire, by the way, was an epicentre of some of the Pakistani rape gang issue. And the police force there has decided to put a pause on brave white men and women who want to go and serve in their police force and serve their community because they're white.
I think that's wrong. I completely agree. But the thing is that you have to understand perhaps their thinking. We're talking about the proliferation of Pakistani rape gangs. So there's a very high proportion of Pakistani people, and therefore perhaps they're trying to get Pakistani recruits who will then actually deal with the community on a much more equitable way than a white person, because they're part of the community. That is the only reason I can think. That's the...
But Nina, on that point, that would be part of the merits of your general application. If you were applying in an area that had a big Pakistani population and you were able to say in your interview, I'm very attuned to this population, I know it inside out, I know how they think, I know how they work, therefore I'm a very good candidate to be a copper. Fine, but that's on the merits of the case. You don't put these people in separate categories of gold, silver, bronze and band. It's apartheid.
I've already said I don't agree with it.
So then you go to these areas and you put adverts out there that encourages young men of Asian descent to join the police. But let's just remember,
but we need them. We need them to join.
As it is, we cannot afford to turn away white...
Scrap these DEI officers and recruit some cops.
Well, there we go. Now, a spokesperson for West Yorkshire Police said the most recent census found that 23% of people in West Yorkshire identified as being from an ethnic minority background. By the way, that's obviously gone up since the last census. Our current police officer representation from ethnic minority backgrounds is at 9%. To address this underrepresentation, we use positive action under the Equality Act 2010. No interviews are held until the window is officially opened to all candidates, right? And the trade war between China and America ramped up again today after President Trump, said that he would hike tariffs on China to 125% with immediate effect. How did the Chinese government respond? Take a look. They used artificial intelligence to show fat Americans working in factories. It's one way to do it. Coming up, I'll reveal what happens next here.
Short steps. The pallbearers carried Benjamin Aviles to his final resting spot.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, we're still going to see plenty of cloud across southeastern areas, but many eastern coasts actually seeing a much brighter day and much warmer too, and plenty of warm sunshine to go around, all thanks to this area of high pressure. And as it slowly sinks its way southwards, we're seeing a change in our wind direction. So that means a bit of a brighter day across northeastern parts. But as we head into this evening, there's still going to be plenty of that cloud drifting in from the North Sea, eventually spreading its way inland towards central and southern parts. But a much clearer night on offer across Scotland, Northern Ireland too, but still plenty of cloud drifting into Shetland and Orkney. And it's going to be quite a cold night on offer, and under the clearest skies, likely seeing some rural frost in places. Now, to start the day across Scotland, it's going to be much brighter, particularly across eastern areas. Aberdeenshire, for example, seeing a much brighter start to the day, but still plenty of cloud lingering on across the Northern Isles. Northern Ireland, too, are also seeing quite a bright start, still cold, likely seeing some frost. And still across the northeast, there's going to be plenty of cloud. Central and southern areas, southeast too, seeing quite a grey start to the day. But Wales and parts of Cornwall, once again, seeing a brighter start to the day. And any cloud, it may linger for a time through the morning, but it's eventually burning its way back towards coastal areas. And once again, it could linger for a time, particularly across coasts of East Anglia, Sussex and Kent. But across northeastern parts of England, parts of Scotland, particularly in the northeast, a much brighter day, lighter winds and seeing much more sunshine too. So feeling definitely a lot warmer, a good 10 degrees difference compared to what we had today, but still plenty of cloud across the far north of Scotland. So once again, feeling chillier here. As we head into Friday, once again, some mist and fog to start, but overall a bright day, plenty of spring sunshine on offer, wall-to-wall blue skies for many, but a change on its way across northern parts of Scotland, some more cloud coming in here and also some outbreaks of rain and turning breezier into the afternoon. Plenty of pleasant conditions to end the week, but on Sunday seeing a change, some showers, more cloud and feeling a bit cooler too.
Welcome back. More newspapers for you now. The very first of the front pages. Trump risks Great Mall of China. See what they did there on the Metro? Yeah. The I paper. Trump backs down in global tariff war but targets China with 125% rate. And rounding us off for tomorrow's newspaper front pages is The Times. They've got Trump puts the brakes on tariffs for 90 days. They've also got that picture there of King Charles and the Italian leader, Giorgia Meloni, sharing a bit of a giggle. So there we go. It was, and indeed still is, actually, for another hour or so, the King and Queen Camilla's 20th wedding anniversary. A tale of true love, Mark.
It is. I mean, I warmed to them a bit. And the Queen in particular. I mean, the turnaround in public opinion about her has been spectacular over a couple of decades. She has handled that perfectly. Harry and Meghan should take a leaf out of her book.
Do you think the public...
Harry was thrown under the bus for her.
Yeah, do you think the public have got over the Diana betrayal, though?
No. A lot of people have, but I haven't.
But
I have not.
That's what they
a lot of people have, absolutely.
She was.
And
did you meet Diana at all, man?
Sorry?
Did you ever meet Diana?
I did.
Yeah.
I met her in the loo at a restaurant called the Caprice by the Ritz.
You met her in the Caprice loo?
I did.
What's the story? Okay, fair enough.
She was lovely. She was great. I shot out of the cubicle and there she was washing her hands, and I nearly fainted. And so I started washing my hands. But I was so startled when I saw her. I said, "Oh my God! I've just put my finger through my tights," and I didn't say "Mom" or anything. I just put my two girls together, and she said, try a bit of soap. I think that helps. She said, I've got some nail varnish. She looked in the bag. She didn't have any nail varnish because that'll stop a tights run as well.
Oh my God!
So there we were, and then we were still washing our hands. I was washing my hands desperately, and she said, "What I'm worried about is that I've just eaten too much garlic and I've got a function later today." And I said, "Oh, don't worry. Nobody's going to. You could." Paint strip a wall with your breath at 20 paces and nobody's going to worry about that.
Yeah.
And we had a real 5-minute girly chat.
Oh, there you go. Well, this is lovely. I must admit, one I wasn't expecting. I thought I'd chance my arm, given the fact that you seem to have met everyone else who is a celebrity, so I thought, there you go. But yes, well, I do wonder whether or not... I think the public is still a little bit split on Camilla, but I think she's been right for Charles recently, certainly, hasn't she? We're going to have to whiz ourselves on, I'm afraid, because this I've been teasing throughout the course of the show. Bonkers clip. It's the moment that a funeral in America went a bit wrong. Have a look at this.
Short steps. The pallbearers carried Benjamin Aviles to his final resting spot. As they began to lay down the casket, the platform above the burial site collapses, sending the men plunging into the burial hole.
Oh, it's the nightmare scenario. It's the nightmare scenario.
I'm amazed. I was just saying to Adam in the break that this doesn't happen more often, actually. Or even if you're a pallbearer, it's damn tricky. Yeah. You've got people of all different heights trying to carry this. It's unbelievably heavy. OK, I know this is not dropping it.
And so are the pallbearers, that's the thing.
About one time in 10.
Well, I hope it didn't open.
No, don't.
No, one of them got injured, though.
Yeah, well, he's in the right place for it, anyway. So yeah, gosh, well, so the mourners were burying Benjamin Aviles, who died suddenly from heart complications on March 21st at his home in Philadelphia, and that was what happened there. I mean, that is the absolute nightmare, isn't it? Anyway, coming up next is Headliners, presented tonight by the one and only Josh Howie. Josh, lots to go at.
Well, I thought we had the most mental story of the day with a lawyer firm, as you talked about, wanting to make Hamas not a prescribed terrorist organisation. And then I saw the front of the Telegraph where they're saying you can't be white and a policeman, or woman. So all bets are off, basically, tonight. We also have phones banned in schools. Brits only have 4 close friends, so I've got 3 more to make. And we have Nick Dixon, and it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, Josh. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it as ever. Josh Howie there will be on with the whole Headliners gang for the next hour on GB News, so don't go anywhere. I'd like to say a massive thank you to our wonderful panel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, wherever you've been watching or listening from. If you're watching on Catch-Up or on YouTube, a big hello and a thank you to you as well. And please, 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 come on down to this very studio on Fridays. You can go and get your tickets. Go to sro.com. Find the GB News tickets there. Come and join me here live in the GB News studio on a Friday night for the audience show. It's a good laugh, and I hope to see you there.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, we're still going to see plenty of cloud across southeastern areas, but many eastern coasts actually seeing a much brighter day and much warmer too, and plenty of warm sunshine to go around, all thanks to this area of high pressure. And as it slowly sinks its way southwards, we're seeing a change in our wind direction. So that means a bit of a brighter day across northeastern parts. But as we head into this evening, there's still going to be plenty of that cloud drifting in from the North Sea, eventually spreading its way inland towards central and southern parts. But a much clearer night on offer across Scotland, Northern Ireland too, but still plenty of cloud drifting into Shetland and Orkney. And it's going to be quite a cold night on offer, and under the clearest skies, likely seeing some rural frost in places. Now, to start the day across Scotland, it's going to be much brighter, particularly across eastern areas. Aberdeenshire, for example, seeing a much brighter start to the day, but still plenty of cloud lingering on across the Northern Isles. Northern Ireland, too, are also seeing quite a bright start, still cold, likely seeing some frost. And still across the northeast, there's going to be plenty of cloud. Central and southern areas, southeast too, seeing quite a grey start to the day. But Wales and parts of Cornwall, once again, seeing a brighter start to the day. And any cloud, it may linger for a time through the morning, but it's eventually burning its way back towards coastal areas, and once again it could linger for a time, particularly across coasts of East Anglia, Sussex and Kent, but across northeastern parts of England, parts of Scotland, particularly in the northeast, a much brighter day, lighter winds and seeing much more sunshine too, so feeling definitely a lot warmer, a good 10 degrees difference compared to what we had today, but still plenty of cloud across the far north of Scotland, so once again feeling chillier here. As we head into Friday, once again some mist and fog to start, but overall a bright day, plenty of spring sunshine on offer, wall-to-wall blue skies for many, but a change on its way across northern parts of Scotland, some more cloud coming in here and also some outbreaks of rain and turning breezier into the afternoon. Plenty of pleasant conditions to end the week, but on Sunday seeing a change, some showers, more cloud and feeling a bit cooler too.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For a chance to win a motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start